Welcome back to another episode of What's the Vibe with Katie and Amy. We are so glad you are here. Thank you for tuning in to another week of vibes.
Vibin'.
Vibin', apparently.
Vibin'.
So I know we don't have any updates because we did the old back-to-back on ya. So what's the vibe?
The vibe is bad behavior.
Is that the vibe?
Yeah, it is. The vibe is wildlife again.
Oh, okay.
The vibe is mistakes.
Mistakes.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of Hannah Montana.
What?
Because she has a song, Everybody Makes Mistakes.
Oh.
Everybody has those days.
Oh.
Everybody has those days. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody gets that way. That's right.
Everybody knows what I'm talking
Of
about.
course. Hannah Montanaers.
Thank you.
Katie, have you ever watched the movie Blackfish?
No, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, me too.
That's so weird because I think that's actually Miley Cyrus's first movie she was in as just a little tiny kid.
No.
Like a very small minor part.
No way. This is a documentary.
Oh, Blackfish! Hang on. No.
Find out what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't think Hannah Montana was in this movie.
A documentary. Yes, I have seen that.
You have?
About the orcas?
Yes.
It's been a very long time.
I want to see it, but I couldn't find it. But I'm still going to tell you about Tilly.
Tilly, yes. Okay, please tell me about Tilly. I'm still going to keep looking for this because I'm not going to let you down, you Miley Cyrusers.
So if you find the movie Blackfish on a streaming service that I have, please let me know. But I wasn't going to pay $20 for it last night, so instead I just read about it.
Okay.
Story of my life. I'm tired of reading.
I know, that's what I was just getting ready to say, man. I'm surprised you got through it.
So, and I watched a YouTube video. Do you know how they get these orcas?
No.
They literally basically chase them around. This one video that I saw, they have like these big nets, and the orcas are so smart that they realized they're here to get the babies. So they would, like the bigger adults would swim one direction and the women and the babies would swim another direction to try to get away. How'd they figure that out?
I mean, years and years and years of it happening.
That's insane. But here's the problem. They also had airplanes above that were like, nope, they went the other way.
Aww.
So that's how Tilly was caught. His real name is Tilikum, but they named him Tilly.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about this story. And there's a whole documentary about it.
I feel like I'll let you tell because I feel like I'm going to give a spoiler away.
Okay.
So you tell your story. But I feel like I remember this being really big when Jacob and I first got together. So that was 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right. So, yeah, I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Tilly ends up killing multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
But I only knew about the one until I started researching because I didn't watch the movie. But orcas in the wild, which they're called killer whales, but they're really gentle in the wild and really non-confrontational. But there's been documentations of literally orcas committing suicide in captivity. Crazy ways. Like they'll just beat their head against the wall.
Oh, that's so sad.
They'll grind their teeth on the cages and stuff until there's pulp exposed.
Oh,
Because they're so depressed
they
in these
went
little
out that
cages.
bad.
They're used to being in the ocean and then they're kept in captivity. So I'm just complaining about don't go to SeaWorld basically.
Yeah, that's where Tilly was.
Yeah, don't support any captive animals. It's not right.
Have you been to SeaWorld?
No, have you?
Yeah.
I won't go after this. And you know that fin on their back?
Mm-hmm.
less than 1% of those of orcas in the wild have a collapsed fin. Almost every orca in captivity, it's like a sign of depression.
Yeah.
It just flops over.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. So I'll tell you just a little bit about it. Tilly was captured when he was 2 years old, which is about the age that they try to get them, with 2 other young orcas by a net, like I was telling you about. And then he was kept first somewhere else before he went to SeaWorld. The first death caused by Tilly was a young lady named Kelty Lee Byrne. He was in Canada.
Okay.
She was a Canadian student, animal trainer, and competitive swimmer. She had been working with orcas, Tilikum, Nootka, and Haida at Sea Land of the Pacific to earn extra money. On February 20th, 1991, she was working a shift when she slipped and fell into the whale pool. Witnesses recalled that Byrne screamed and panicked after realizing that one of the whales, later identified as Tilly, was holding her foot and dragging her into the water.
Oh.
One witness describes the theme park as looking unkempt, like a gray theme park on its last legs, a kind of dingy swimming pool, and claimed to have heard Byrne screaming, "I don't want to die."
Oh, that was his way. I'm sorry. I feel bad that she lost her life,
Yeah.
but that was his way of saying, "Let me out of here."
Yes. Yes. Ay, ay, ay.
To me, it is one thing to rescue animals. Like I don't know if you've seen, but like injured turtles or things like that, and help them rehabilitate. And if they're doing that in a zoo or an aquarium, fine, and then releasing them. But to hold them in captivity and to go out, you're hunting them, basically. You're not killing them, but they would almost be better off.
I mean, it is amazing to me how they can, train them to follow a command and they'll jump out of the water and splash and stuff. But like Tilly, they said they kept him in like a medical pool or something that was not that much bigger than he was. And then he'd be like the grand finale of these shows, come out and do these big splashes. I mean, what a life.
Right. As pet owners, which we both are, you specifically have a dog. People say, like, you should have space to have your dog run around. And you've sent me videos, and your dog is so happy because your house is so big. And he has places to run, and he's got a decent-sized backyard. And you take him on walks. Why would that not be any different for any other animal?
I know. I noticed a difference in my dog's joy level because I've talked before about how I was in that studio apartment while I was waiting to buy my house. His skin even got like drier and patchier and he's just such a happy boy now. I'm so grateful. Yeah, it's hard. So the second death at I wanted to say hands of Tilly, but he doesn't have hands. At the fins of Tilly was a man named Daniel P. Dirks. He was a 27-year-old man from South Carolina. The SeaWorld has maintained that Dukes, this happened at SeaWorld, was a vagrant who climbed into Tilikum's pool and drowned. But the coroner's report, along with animal rights advocates for Tilly, have pointed out that Duke's corpse was found severely mutilated by the whale, like he was playing with it. Dukes is generally regarded by the media as a trespasser and a nuisance rather than a direct victim of Tilikum. Although this perception has been challenged by the release of the documentary Blackfish that I mentioned.
So he didn't work there.
No, it sounds like he climbed the fence. And
what
was he doing?
Why would you want to do that? It's one thing to stick your hand in one of those pools to pet little stingrays. It's a whole other thing to jump in.
I don't know what. I mean, who knows?
Think you're going to live?
I don't get it. I mean, they say that all these people are victims of Tilly's, and they are, but Tilly's a victim too, obviously.
These people wouldn't have been victims if Tilly wasn't a victim first.
Right. And then this is the one that I happened to come across that I was like, wait, that made me go back and kind of learn more about this. And I do need to watch the documentary, and maybe I'll inspire other people to watch it too. When I first thought it was a documentary about a whale, I was like not interested. Or not a whale, I'm sorry, an orca.
Well, same. Yes, I know what you meant, but just in general, like animal, no.
Yeah, but now I'm really interested in it. So this is maybe when you and Jacob got together, February 24th, 2010.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I was still a wee baby.
We've been together. Kindergarten?
2013.
On February 24th, 2010, Tilikum killed Don Branshaw, a 40-year-old SeaWorld trainer. Branshaw was killed following a Dine with Shamu show. There are people in the stands, Katie. The veteran trainer was rubbing Tilikum as part of a post-show routine when the orca grabbed her by her, this says ponytail, and this is all from Wikipedia, but I've read other articles where it said her arm. Not that it matters.
Okay.
But pulled her into the water. Some witnesses reported seeing Tilikum grab Branshaw by the arm or shoulder. He reportedly scalped her and bit off her arm during the attack. Branshaw's autopsy indicated death by drowning and blunt force trauma. Branshaw's death resulted in a contentious legal case over the safety of working with orcas and the ethics of keeping live whales and other marine mammals in captivity. After this, they did put up like bars and stuff, and you weren't allowed to touch the animals, but put this animal back to work.
It's really crazy that you say that, because I'm just thinking of other animals in zoos. Gorillas, lions, to where, like, I've seen videos of a child falling into a gorilla pen or area.
Gosh, yes.
And the gorilla not harming them, treating them like it's one of its own, the child being fine, and they put that gorilla down.
Right.
And now Tilly, this is the third person Tilly has killed, and they're putting him back to work, which is like, what? How do you differentiate between the animals? Like, Tilly needs just as much room as any other animal of that size.
And it makes no sense.
You're just gonna let them keep killing people?
I know. Tilly has since passed. SeaWorld announced in March of 2016 that Tilly's health was deteriorating, and it was thought he had a lung infection due to bacterial pneumonia. In May 2016, it was reported that Tilly's health was improving, but on January of 2017, SeaWorld announced that Tilikum has died in the early morning. The cause of death was reported as a bacterial infection. This just popped into my head, but what do they do? How do they get him out of the tank?
Right.
He weighed, let me tell you, this man weighed 12,500 pounds.
1,000.
His pectoral fins were 7 feet long.
I don't know. How do they?
And his 6 foot tall dorsal fin was collapsed completely to its left side. I mean, what do they do?
Not only that, but I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, or maybe I'm just really digging in because we're talking about saving the orcas. But
stop having wild animals they kill.
Thank you. My thought immediately was, how does he have a bacterial pneumonia, one, but a bacterial infection? Like, are they not keeping his water clean?
How did he get that?
Because I would think an aquarium or a zoo would keep their exhibits and enclosures extra clean, or at least standard. Because wouldn't that be like monitored? I mean, It's no different than like a restaurant or another public place.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm feeling very passionate about Tilly.
I Googled what do they do with dead orcas at SeaWorld, and it says SeaWorld performs a necropsy, which is an autopsy on an animal, to determine and confirm the cause of death. The body is disposed of IAW state laws and zoologist best practices. So what does that mean? Skeletons are often donated to scientific programs and museums, so the animals can continue to contribute to knowledge and education even after death.
But not, nobody is gaining any common sense when he's killing people and has nowhere to go.
Plus, I think about that mama orca that had her baby snatched.
Yeah. And the fear of the baby orca being taken away from its family.
And almost all orcas, like, because they'll breed them in captivity, they almost all die. Like, they're either miscarried or die of birth. It's just not natural.
It's not. That's all I got.
Complaining about more wild animals killing people.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
That's very sad. I am not anti-zoo.
No,
I'm not.
I've been to the zoo.
Yeah, but I do question SeaWorld.
Yeah.
I went there for free, so it wasn't like a
It
paid
doesn't feel
family
good.
vacation.
I've seen like giraffes at the Indianapolis Zoo, and it seems like they have all this room
Yes.
to roam, and
Yeah.
they seem content and happy. I don't know, but
I feel like if there was question of their care, like Tilly, I Googled it because I wanted to know when the documentary came out. 2013, which is why
the documentary.
it was like
Okay.
ringing a bell to me. Like there would be more news about the zoo.
Right. I'm sure it's regulated and make sure. But, you know, the last time I was at the Indianapolis Zoo, I do think about the gorillas that are like in that glass enclosure.
Mm-hmm. That is sad.
It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. Okay. What do you got? What's your vibe, man?
My vibe is going to feel chaotic, I think. But I think it's the only way to tell my story. My vibe is family. Massive family. It's all about family.
Okay, family.
My vibe is tragedy. My vibe is curses.
Ooh.
Tell me if you know where I'm going with this when
Not
I
yet.
say my vibe is politics.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
So, do you believe in curses?
Yeah, I think I do.
Think so?
I think I do.
This story, I'm going to tell you about the Kennedy family.
Mm-hmm.
This has been on my list forever. And actually, so was last week's with Jessica to talk about. And both times, researching both stories, I just haven't been into it. Like, just haven't. But I've been seeing some things on TikTok. And I pulled up a couple of websites to do some research on the Kennedys. And it said, I was looking on Wikipedia. And at the very bottom, it said, see also the Von Erich family curse. Or Von Erich family. And that they've experienced similar tragedies. And I was like, well, we've talked about the Von Erichs when we had Drew on to guest star.
Yes.
And side note, I don't know if you've been on social media, but videos and a ton of pictures are coming out about the Iron Claw.
They're getting heat, aren't they? I'm excited.
And I'm excited too. So we'll have to come back to that because we're going to see the movie, but I'm going to take you
on a journey.
And I'm going to put this picture up. I don't know how many times during my editing, but I just want to show the Vibe Tribe. This is the Kennedy family tree.
I'm impressed. You made a whole tree.
I did not. I got this off of Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
I Googled.
I love Wikipedia.
I was going to start by making my own tree. Do you see how many family members are on here? I can fit them all on one piece of paper.
Who to start with up here?
So I'm going to give Amy this paper. I've got my own to help follow along. Okay. And I will include it, of course, in the edit.
I'm excited. Dang.
So the Kennedys date back to 1770. And there's a ton of them. If I had to guess, without counting, I bet there's 40 to 50 people on this page. I'm going to not start in the 1770s. I wanted to say 70s.
The 1770s.
I'm going to start at the pink
Okay.
in 1888.
Okay.
Okay. 135 years ago, I did the math. And I'm going to chronologically tell you who these people were that have been affected by the quote-unquote curse on the Kennedy family.
What caused the curse? Are you going to tell me?
No, there's not anything that I was kind of looking too. Like, did somebody do something
Mhm.
bad, or was this bad karma, or what happened? But there's no one specific incident that happened that was then followed by all of these tragedies.
Or we just don't know what that might have been.
Yes.
Maybe. Okay.
I mean, back to 1770s. When were the witches?
Yeah, about that time. 1700s.
So, I mean, they very well could have been cursed.
Oh.
So, in 1888, Joseph Kennedy Sr. was born. He was an American businessman, a philanthropist, and a politician. During World War I, he was an assistant general manager of a Boston steel shipyard.
Okay.
Here, he met and became close to President Roosevelt.
At the steel mill?
At the steel
talk.
shipyard.
I can't say it. Okay.
Yes. So, I guess I should say Joseph Kennedy Sr., he did not start the line of politicians. It went back to the 1700s.
Oh, wow.
And it went back and back and back. And I wanted to start where I found the curse.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Kennedy Sr. was known for so many things, but in the early 1900s, he reorganized and refinanced several Hollywood studios, which I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't know the Kennedys went that far back with Hollywood. I know. Isn't that kind of interesting?
Yeah.
At the time, he owned the largest private commercial building in the world, which is Chicago's Merchandise Mart. Then President Roosevelt appointed him first chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission over the U.S. In 1914, you see his little wife on there. There's no pictures of her name. He married Rose Fitzgerald. Okay. So Rose and Joseph would go on to have 9 children.
Jeez.
There's not a lot to do in the 1800s.
Yes. Dang.
4 of those children passed away young, and 2 other children experienced some sort of tragedy or hardship, we'll say. And again, I'm going to go in chronological order. So you see, I numbered them so you can see who I'm talking about, because I might be talking about somebody of their children, and then the next thing happens to 3 great-grandchildren away. So Rosemary, born Rosemarie Kennedy, is the daughter of Joseph and Rose. When she was younger, late teens, early adulthood, would experience mood swings and occasional violent outbursts.
Same queen.
Same queen. So Joseph took her to the doctor. And you might know where I'm going with this. I'm sure you'll know some of these scenarios. They suggested a lobotomy. They said that would calm her down. It would,
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. And all Joe Sr. cared about was the fact that she was going to shame and embarrass her family. And it was going to damage his political career. So he agreed. And without telling her mother, Rose, he took Rosemarie to get a lobotomy.
Oh my God. I've seen the before and after.
I have too. It's very sad.
It's insane. For mood swings and violent outbursts. That's me as a teen.
Right. That's every teen is a teen.
Right? I mean, the hormones, the growth, we're opinionated, there was probably nothing wrong with her.
Right. And she's in a very political, very well-known family. It diminished her mental capacity to the age of 2. She could not walk. She could not speak. She couldn't do anything.
When does her mother find out? When he brings home a toddler that used to be Rosemary?
I did not dig into when her mom fell out because there's 20 people affected by this so-called curse.
Oh my gosh.
I was trying to just get as much information in the little form packed into each
there's
people.
a lot.
She was immediately institutionalized to St. Coletta School for the Youth in Wisconsin. And that's where she remained for the rest of her life.
Oh.
It was kept a secret. Joe Sr. kept it a secret of where she was living. And her siblings didn't even find out until he was much, much older and had a stroke or something and ended up telling them where she was. She was nobody ever visited her, her parents, nothing.
What?
I know. I did find that in 2005, she passed away at the age of 86 from natural causes.
There's longevity in this family.
Yes. Well, for some.
For some, yeah.
So yeah, I was surprised to read that she lived that long, to 86.
Man.
Next, we're going to move on to Joseph Kennedy Jr. So that is their eldest child, Joe and Rose.
Okay.
So we're still at the...
We're in the beginning. We're in the 1940s. 30s.
Yeah. So Joseph Jr., Joe Jr., as he was growing up, he spent time studying law. He went to London to learn economics. Then he went to Harvard. His dad was set on him becoming president.
Okay.
He was a Massachusetts delegate in 1940 and planned to run for president in 1946, which is so wild. If you actually think about, this was the 40s.
Yeah.
In 1941, he left Harvard to enlist in the Navy. In 1944, he was participating in a special mission with the Navy. He was aboard a plane that was going to release an explosive. The explosive went off too soon, and it killed him and everyone in the plane.
I didn't know that.
So, of their 9 children, I mean, one was basically gone because she wasn't there. And now they've lost another son.
Wow.
1944.
Same year.
Yes, same year. Joe and Rose have another daughter named Kathleen. A little bit about Kathleen. She went by Kik.
Okay.
I thought was kind of cute.
Yeah.
In 1943, I got into a method later. It'll all make sense.
Okay.
She met a man named William Cavendish.
Mm-hmm.
They were married and spent less than 5 weeks together before he went to war.
Oh, okay.
Side note, her mom didn't approve of William because the Kennedys at the time were raised as Roman Catholics. And to be with William, who was from England, she would have to be a part of the Church of England. And so her mom was very against it. She didn't want her grandchildren raised
in the Church of England.
Less than a month after her brother Joe Jr., who was just killed in the Navy, in the explosion in the air. What?
Oh, that's a lot of...
her husband, William, was killed by a sniper during the war.
Jeez.
Even though he is not technically a Kennedy, he was still considered part of the Kennedy curse because he was married to a Kennedy and then died. In 1948, Kick met another man by the name of Earl. Again, her mom did not approve, but she knew that her dad was flying into Paris and she was living in England, so she was going to board a plane and go to meet him to get his approval for her to be married to Earl. They got on the plane, they took off, and they were in the air for about an hour when they approached a storm. The plane lost contact with the radios. They went through about 20 minutes of turbulence, and then were starting to clear clouds. When they were clearing clouds, they realized that they were like nosediving, basically.
Oh my goodness.
It was too late for them to pull up and keep flying. They crashed and everyone, including Kick, was killed.
Wow.
This was 1 year later, I believe. No, I lied. This was 4 years later.
That's crazy.
Something really sad that I read was she was buried in England on the Cavendish family grounds where her first husband was buried, and her dad would be the only one to attend the funeral. What? I know. Isn't that sad?
Man, well, you know what? Thank you for reminding me all families can be very toxic.
Very.
Oh
Very.
my gosh.
So that was 1948, and we've lost 3 members of the Kennedy family, and then the daughter is in Wisconsin.
Right.
Now, most of the children are adults. I'm just looking at the years. And John F. Kennedy, who would go on to be president, and Jackie Kennedy are married.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie Kennedy gets pregnant after suffering a miscarriage, has a baby that is still born.
Oh my gosh.
So her name was Arabella. So she is included as well.
It's a beautiful name. I didn't know that.
John and Jackie. There's so many names. And it's so confusing because there's a lot of seniors and juniors, and there's the second and the third.
Mm-hmm.
So which one am I talking about? After they had Arabella, they had 2 other children. And then their 4th child, Patrick Kennedy, was born 5.5 weeks premature. This was 1963. July of 1963, I'll know. He passed away at 2 days old from complications of infantile respiratory distress syndrome. Not really sure what that is. Didn't really have time to Google it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Sounds like RSV, though.
Yeah, something like that. So now they've lost 2 children.
Jeez.
John F. Kennedy has lost 2 sisters and a brother.
Tragic.
So that was July of 1963. Just a couple of months later, John F. Kennedy, who is now the president, a couple of things I'll tell you about him just because I included some information about his siblings.
They lost this baby the same year as his assassination.
The same year. Just, 4 months?
Wow.
Yep. So he was traveling through Texas. I feel like almost everybody knows this. And he was shot once in the back of the head. Yes, and then once in the back. Something I did not know, though, Lee Harvey Oswald, who's mostly assumed to have assassinated him, was murdered 2 days after.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I didn't either. He was murdered by some nightclub owner. Yeah. So that's the 4th child that's pretty much down and out for the original Joe and Rose that we started with.
And there were 9 of them originally? Yeah.
9 of them. And 2 now, so now they're down 4 children and 2 grandchildren.
Wow.
In 1964, just a year later, let me look at my family tree because there's a lot on here.
You did a good job on this.
I had to have the tree, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to tell the story.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Edward Kennedy, who would go by Ted, he was the son of Joseph Sr. and Rose. So one of those original 9 children. He was born in 1932. He was an American lawyer and politician, served as a U.S. Senator for 47 years. He does not pass tragically, but has actually had an accident. In June of 1964, he was on a plane on his way to a convention when the plane crashed into an apple orchard. He spent 5 months in the hospital with a broken back, punctured lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding.
How was that family?
But
I would
survived.
stop flying.
Thank you, because you've lost your son, your daughter.
And we're just getting started.
Right.
What? And they always say, you're more likely to die in a car accident than a plane crash. Tell the Kennedys that.
Thank you. So he survived. In 1968, so 4 years later, Robert Kennedy, so again, one of the original 9 children of Joe and Rose, he was born in 1925. Again, he was a politician, a lawyer. He served as the 64th U.S. Attorney General and was one of the youngest cabinet members in American history. He ran for president and was a huge advocate for civil rights and social justice. He also served in the Navy and went to Harvard, much like his brothers. In June of 1968, he was going state to state, rallying. Like, he wants to get voted president.
Okay.
And he had just had 2 victories in California and South Dakota, were both the primary elections he won. So he was going to address some supporters in a ballroom in Los Angeles. And when he was leaving, his security guard said, don't go to the press room through the kitchen. Make sure you go this way, this way, this way. But whoever was leading him led him through the kitchen. He stopped to shake hands with a busboy, and at the same time, another man, I think I read he was 24, this other man, pulled a gun and shot him 3 times.
What the world?
I read that he instantly fell, and the first thing he said is, everyone okay? And was like checking and asking about other people, and they got him out and took him to the hospital, and he didn't make it. So now 2 of the 9 children have been assassinated.
Yeah, that's insane.
He left behind 11 children, Amy. I know you can't even, I didn't even realize this until I got to that part. This whole row right here are his children.
Wow.
11 children. That's wild to me.
Dang.
But I mean, it makes sense if you came from a big family.
Yeah.
Oh,
11
children.
Wow.
1969.
Jeez.
We're running out of children. We're running out of adults, family members. I guess I shouldn't say children.
Yeah, we're running out of adults for sure.
We're going back to Ted Kennedy.
Okay.
So he was the one that was in the plane crash with the apple orchard. He had the broken back.
Yes.
So one of those original 9 children. Something happens again. I don't have all of the details, but what I read was he accidentally, how do you accidentally drive your car off a bridge?
Oh,
in Massachusetts.
I hate that.
That's the worst.
It drives me crazy. Do you know how many cars I got in the Wabash River? I had $1 car.
No wonder I was driving you around so much for a while.
I wish it was something that exciting. Accidentally, okay. You think maybe?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
I'm thinking of another brother or another Kennedy member. The sad part is he had a passenger in the
Oh,
car.
no.
A 28-year-old passenger named Mary Jo, who did not make it. Now, when Ted drove this car off a bridge, which now all I can picture is the Wabash, but it was probably still something a little more minor, if I had to guess.
I'm hoping.
I don't see how he would just get up.
Well, true.
But he didn't call the police. He just left.
He had things to do.
Places to go.
Yeah. You can't let a minor murder slow him down.
He had to go get a new car.
Jeez. And who's this Mary Jo? I don't think it was his wife. 28. This man's in his 60s. I don't know how old he is, but he's old.
He was in his 30s at the time.
Oh, never mind. He's not that old.
He did call the police the next morning. He was charged with leaving the scene. He's the first person to mention the Kennedy curse. In a televised statement a week later, he said on the night of the incident he wondered whether some awful curse did actually hang over all of us Kennedys. Weird. He pled guilty and was charged for leaving the scene of an accident. What? Somebody died.
And what if he would have called for help? Would she have died?
Right. He received a sentence of 2 months suspended.
Oh, way to really crack the whip on him.
Oh, I know. Teach that boy a lesson.
Dang.
So, we've experienced several plane crashes, car accident, some Army-related deaths, I guess.
And then old Ted over here is just accident prone, like a mofo. A lobotomy, don't forget about that.
Yes, a lobotomy. So, moving on to August of 1973, I want to tell you about Joseph Patrick Kennedy II. His dad is the one that has 11 children.
Okay.
Yes. He, a little bit of background, was born in 1952, so by this time he's, 21. Was an American businessman and politician. He was really troubled when he was young. He was expelled from several private schools. I guess I use that term loosely because there's different.
Right. I mean, that sounds like some trouble was happening.
Yes. He was expelled from several private schools due to his quick temper. He was just 15 years old when his father was assassinated. So his dad was the one that was in the hotel from the kitchen. Kitchen. In February of 1972, at 19 years old, he was on a flight that was hijacked. This was like, the way I read it, sounded like a commercial flight.
What?
And the other passengers were held hostage by 5 gunmen for an entire day, but released unharmed.
That's interesting.
In 1973, the following year, he was driving recklessly with his brother David and David's girlfriend Pam in the car. Mm-hmm. So he's already been held hostage, basically, and experienced this. I don't know, that would be traumatizing.
Yes.
He was driving recklessly when he ended up flipping his Jeep, fracturing one of David's vertebrae, and permanently paralyzing David's girlfriend Pam.
Oh my gosh.
What was his punishment, you may ask?
I do ask.
A judge temporarily suspended his license. The family did pay for Pam's initial treatment and then minorly, that's all I could find, contributed financially to her family over the next couple of years. I did read that she had children and grandchildren, not with the Kennedys, and then she ended up passing away in 2020.
Oh.
So that's a twofer on the trauma with Joseph Patrick Kennedy II, as just like Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, Uncle Ted. Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Edward Kennedy Jr., so Uncle Ted's son.
Okay.
He was born in 1961 and was an American lawyer and politician, or is. He represented Connecticut in the state Senate from 2015 to 2019. This isn't as major in my opinion, but still I would say affected by the curse, we'll call it. At age 12, he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma and had to have his right leg surgically amputated.
Oh.
So, but didn't keep him down because he still went on to be one with the government, we'll say. Side note that I put in here, when he was going in to have surgery, that same day, his aunt, Kathy, was getting married. This lady right here.
Okay.
And by this time, her father had already been assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
So, Uncle Ted, we'll keep calling him.
Yeah, it is their uncle.
She was getting married that day, so he went to walk her down the aisle.
Oh, the day he was his own son was getting his leg cut off.
So, he was trying to make both happen in the same day. He was going to walk her down the aisle and then come back and be with his family. He was rushing, but oddly enough, ended up being late for his flight back. The flight he was supposed to take crashed in a river and killed 74 people. Is that not weird?
That's insane.
That's enough to make me think.
I was supposed to be on that plane. They're trying to kill me.
The universe is, I need some Reiki.
Yeah, that's wild. So being late saved his life that time.
And he has already had the apple orchard plane crash and drove somebody off a bridge. In 1984, David A. Kennedy, one of the 11 children, he was the one whose girlfriend was Pam, who was paralyzed.
Oh, okay.
Died. I couldn't find hardly any information on him, but he died of a drug overdose in a hotel in Palm Beach, Florida.
David? Oh, my gosh.
That was 1984. So he was 29 years old.
I'm trying to follow along with the numbers. It's
so hard.
Yeah. This is a big family.
Huge. And yeah, there were people in this family I didn't even know were members of the family. The next person I wanted to tell you about was Michael Kennedy. So again, he is one of the 11 children of Robert Kennedy. He was born in 1958. He was an American lawyer, businessman, and activist. Was just 10 years old when his dad was assassinated. Mm. He never served politically, but he did go to Harvard in 1980. In December of 1997, so I'm not going to try to do that, 39 years old, I think, he and his family were in Aspen, Colorado. And tell me how you do this. They were on skis, following, right? Makes sense. Aspen, Colorado, playing football. I was like, what?
I did not know what you were going to say.
I didn't expect on skis.
I've never skied.
Me either.
But I never imagined the two activities going together.
So while spending this time with his family and playing footballs on skis.
Yeah, it's wild.
He hit a tree, was not wearing a helmet or any other safety equipment, and died.
Like skied down the mountain, hit a tree, and died?
Allegedly. I mean, I don't know how you play football on skis down a mountain and hit a tree. But died.
That would be such an embarrassing way to go.
Literally.
Don't want that to happen to me.
How did she go?
Well, she was playing football on skis and hit a tree. It's very George of the Jungle. I'm sorry. May you rest in peace, sir. But that is terrible.
Yeah. Now we're going to go back to President John F. Kennedy, who had 4 children, the one baby who was stillborn, the one who died prematurely, another daughter named Caroline, and a son named John. He was John Jr. Now, John was an American attorney, journalist, and magazine publisher. Most people should know who John is. He was, I think, planning to be president, but planning to run for president, but I could be wrong. I wasn't there in the 90s.
It seems right. I mean, I remember this time, and he was kind of just being publicized everywhere. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Getting the people used to him is how I felt about it.
Okay. A couple of notes I put in here. In 1968, which I think, so that was 5 years after his father passed away, his mom, Jackie, took him and his sister out of the United States saying, if they're killing Kennedys, then my children are target. I want to get out of the country. So it makes me wonder, what did she know?
Wow.
Yeah. Another side note I put in here, just because you said they were kind of publicizing them.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that this man dated Daryl Hannah.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought that was a fun fact.
I think I've seen some interviews with Daryl Hannah where she loved him.
Really?
I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, I can't remember, but I feel like that.
Daryl Hannah, are you watching?
Daryl, did you love him?
Comment below. I want you to make a big YouTube and
pretend I'm Daryl Hannah. Yes, I love you.
In July of 1999, John was piloting a plane that carried him, his wife, and his sister-in-law. The plan was to drop his sister-in-law off at Martha's Vineyard, but they never arrived.
Was it a twin sister or no? They looked alike.
His sister?
No, Carolyn Bissett, his wife.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe not.
They never arrived, and it was 2 days, I think, later, they were searching for the plane, the people. Like, they don't just fall out of the sky.
Right.
When Navy divers found fragments of the plane in the ocean, and 2 days later, they found their bodies on the ocean floor.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I know. Jumping ahead, so that was 1999 to 2006. I'm going to tell you about Patrick Joseph Kennedy II. He is Uncle Ted's son.
Okay.
So back over there on the side.
Right.
Patrick Joseph Kennedy II. Yes, okay. He was born in 1967. Was also an American politician and a mental health advocate. He has served as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and he co-founded a mental health nonprofit called One Mind. In 2006, he was intoxicated when he crashed into a barricade on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. It was about 2 a.m, and he told the police that he was late to vote, which I do think that they do things at all hours in Washington. I don't comment below if you're from Washington.
I'm late to vote. It's 2 a.m.
There was no field sobriety test issued, and he was driven home by a police officer. This accident, though, did lead him to reveal his addiction to prescription medications, cocaine, and alcohol abuse. He did go to jail or was arrested. I don't know if he went to jail. And the judge told him, go to rehab. And he did.
Okay, that's good.
When he was released from rehab, he was sentenced to 1 year of probation and fined $350. Fine, he didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, it looks like he kind of got the most reasonable punishment for his crime.
Yes. As of 2023, he has been clean for 10 years.
Man, go.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trying to live.
Right.
Together.
Pull it together.
Mm.
So that was 2006. Jumping ahead to 2011, his sister, Uncle Ted's daughter, I didn't know how old she was. So Your guess is as good as mine. She was in her 50s or 60s. She had experience working on campaigns, serving on charity boards, was a filmmaker and a TV producer, which I thought was interesting. But Kara, in 2011, she was at her health club doing a daily workout, and you thought that other guy went out hitting a tree? No. If I'm like pass away and my spirit's trying to move on, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking down at me, and I had a heart attack while working out and died, I'm gonna lose it.
Seriously, that's what happened.
What do you mean? A heart attack?
Damn. 70, 80, 92. She was 51.
Okay, thank you.
Dang. Whoa, Katie, I'm knocking on a heart attack. Don't.
I know. You better be careful if you go for a walk or something.
No kidding.
3 more. So the following year, this is an ex-spouse of a Kennedy.
Okay.
So Robert Kennedy Jr. is the son of the one that has 11 children.
Oh, yes, Bobby Kennedy.
Yes, thank you. He, in 1994, married a woman named Mary Richardson. They would go on to have 4 children, and then 15 years later, Robert would file for a divorce. He would be granted full custody of their children due to a history of her substance abuse. May 16th of 2012, Mary was found dead in her home. Her death was ruled a suicide.
Oh, yeah, you stole her children.
Right.
Oh.
But still considered part of the Kennedy curse. This next one, how do you think you say this name? Saorise.
I've heard that said before.
So do I. I feel like I have, but I couldn't.
Let me see if Google can help.
Okay.
Saoirse.
Shersha?
Saoirse.
Never, ever would have pronounced it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Saoirse is the daughter of Mary Kennedy. She's also the granddaughter of Robert F. Kennedy. So, again, 11 kids. This is his granddaughter.
Okay.
I found hardly any information on her, but she was a Kennedy. At 22, she died of an accidental overdose after being found unresponsive.
Oh, jeez.
The last one is the most recent, and it's so sad. So, a granddaughter and her son of Bobby. So again,
jeez.
11 kids. His granddaughter, Maeve, and Maeve's son, Gideon. This was 2020. It was the height of COVID. So Maeve took her and her children, her family, I'm not sure if she was married, to Chesapeake Bay to where they could stay to quarantine. Because April of 2020, height of everything. They were outside, the 2 of them were outside playing when a kickball landed in the water. So she took Gideon and got into a canoe and they were going to go get it. The winds kept sweeping. I'm not sure if it was the ball or them or both out further into the bay, and they just went missing. 4 days later,
Oh my God.
her body was recovered. And another 2 days later, her son's body was recovered.
That is sad. That's tragic. Such a freak accident.
Right. And because of the pandemic, they couldn't have a funeral.
Oh.
So they had to do a Zoom memorial where Kenny Chesney, Melissa Etheridge, and Natasha Bedingfield all performed. I thought that was an interesting.
That is
little
interesting.
bit. So there are 21, technically, if you want to count the grandson. I really put them into 2, the last one there. 21 people who have been potentially affected by this curse. there was something else that I threw in. Last story that you were telling, I had a thought. During the Halloween episode, I was going to tell you about Martha Moxley. Do you know who she is?
I do know who that is. How
is her murderer?
Where does she belong? Or
Yes.
where does he belong?
So, do the research on Martha Moxley. She passed away on Halloween night or the evening before. And the man who was charged and sentenced for her murder, his name was Michael Skakel.
Okay.
He was... Okay, Robert F. Kennedy, Bobby.
Okay.
The man that has 11 children. His wife, that was her nephew. So like her brother or sister's child.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and when I was researching on Halloween, I decided not to go forward with that. But some people did say in there that the way Martha's case was handled was different because he had Kennedy family members.
Yeah, Kennedy ties.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that a lot.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think that the family is cursed, or do you think it's a coincidence? Because some people say this family is massive. The family is so huge. Of course, things are going to happen. If you spread out your family, you might find stuff like that. I don't know.
I feel like it's a curse. I don't have any family members that have died in plane crashes, been shot, driven off bridges, or hit a tree while skiing.
Thank you.
Not a one.
Thank you.
Not a one. So I think there's a curse.
I would agree.
Wow, Katie, good job, man.
Thank you.
This made it so nice to follow, and I learned stuff I didn't know. So
I do have 2 more little notes.
Oh, awesome.
First note, maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't. Did you know Maria Shriver was a Kennedy?
Yes. How is she a Kennedy?
She is on this paper because I was confused when I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger on there.
She belonged to Eunice
Yes.
Kennedy.
She was one of the branches of the family that's not been affected by the curse.
Oh.
So I thought that
It seems to go on the sons. I mean, obviously Rose Kennedy was tragically lobotomized. I didn't know how else to say it. But it does seem to follow them then.
That is true.
Because look at Jean Ann's family. She was one of the original 9. And I don't see her kids or grandkids affected.
No, you're right. And same thing with Patricia.
Oh, yeah.
She was one of the 9 and went on to have 4 kids as well, and none of them were affected.
This is a male Kennedy curse.
It is.
Those that end up carrying the Kennedy name, because women don't, like Maria Shriver.
Well, tell me what you think is going to happen in the next couple of years, because I told you this TikTok kind of got me into this. Because I was scrolling on TikTok a couple of days ago, and who came across my news feed? But Robert Kennedy
Okay.
Jr. His wife is the one who passed by suicide.
Oh, okay.
His dad was assassinated after the president, Kennedy. He's running for president next year.
Oh, really?
The TikToks, which I was and still am going to make this very like non-political
Right.
or like very neutral at least. But he came across my For You page, and something that was like super interesting to me is his family is historically Democrats.
Okay.
He's running as independent.
Oh, interesting.
So I thought that was really interesting. I was like, honestly, everyone sucks. Okay?
Yes, fair.
Everyone sucks.
Yeah.
And we've had Democrats, we've had Republicans. Nothing's working.
You're right.
So I was like, so let's go independent. Let's go independent. Maybe I'll vote for him. Let me do some research. And then I was doing a little bit of research on him today and read some stuff that I didn't really agree with. He's very anti-vaccine.
Oh, Lord.
But there were other things that I thought were like really great
Mm-hmm.
that he was supporting, which I think is kind of how you're going to be with any candidate.
Of course, yeah.
But now that
sorry.
he is running for president, I just wonder if the curse is going to affect him in any way.
Oh, let's follow up. I had no idea he was running, so I'll look into it.
I didn't either until a couple of days ago.
Okay.
I was like, what?
Hmm.
Cool, maybe I'll vote for him. And I was like, I don't know.
Way to keep stuff current,
No.
Katie.
Starting back from...
Starting in the 1700s.
Thank you.
to next year.
Yeah, the future.
You can't be more current in the future.
You're right.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed this week's show and keep vibing.